In SEDA, the first step is system discovery and diagnosis. That is important because in many transformation efforts, the work begins too early with solutions. Teams start discussing target architecture, new platforms, new team topologies, or delivery models before they have developed a clear understanding of how the current system actually works. SEDA starts somewhere else. It starts with seeing the whole systems, not only the code base or the organization chart, but the interactions, dependencies, recurring delays, structural frictions, and feedback loops that they shape day-to-day behavior. Before proposing change, we need to understand what is happening, what keeps happening, and why it keeps happening. That is where the Iceberg Model becomes useful. At the surface, we see events. These are the visible signals: a missed delivery date, recurring incidents, delayed releases, unresolvable dependencies. These events matter, but on their own, they do not explain very much. So the next question is not only what happened, but what keeps happening. That takes us to the level of patterns. A single delay may be incidental, but if releases from one team are delayed every second sprint, that is no longer an isolated event. It is a recurring pattern. What becomes visible is not just a sequence of issues, but a stable form of behavior. Once those patterns are visible, the next level is deeper. We ask, what in the system design allows those patterns to persist? And this is the level of system structures. Here we look at how work is organized, team responsibilities, ownership boundaries, coordination path, decisions route, and so on. For example, if one feature requires several teams to coordinate across unclear boundaries, delays should not be surprising. At this level, diagnosis becomes more structural. We stop treating symptoms as isolated delivery problems and begin examining the design conditions that reproduce them. But even this is not the deepest level. Below system structure, there are often mental models. These are the beliefs and assumptions that keeps the current structure in place. Ideas such as every team should specialize narrowly, ownership ends at the API boundaries, or stability should always be preferred over autonomy. These assumptions are rarely written down explicitly, but they shape decisions continuously. They influence how teams are formed, how responsibilities are distributed, and how risk is interpreted. So in practical terms, step 1 of SEDA moves through 4 levels, from events to patterns to structures and to mental models. That is what allows diagnosis to go beyond symptoms reporting. And once this diagnostic view is established, we can begin to assess the organizations more precisely. One important lens here is Conway's law. Conway's law reminds us that system tends to reflect the communication path of the organizations that built them. In SEDA, this is not treated as the abstract theory, it is used as the diagnosis lens. If a team are responsible for systems they do not really control, or if small changes require coordination across multiple reporting lines, that usually indicates structural misalignments. Work then moves across many boundaries. coordination overhead increases. Feedback slows down, and the architecture begins to reflect those organizational constraints. This is why diagnosis in step 1 also include questions such as, do team boundaries align with real ownership? Where do excessive hands-on occur? Which changes require unnecessary cross-team coordination? Where are key decisions made and how far they are from implementation? These questions help uncover barriers that are often treated as operational problems, while in fact they are structural. And that distinction matters because if the issue is structural, adding more governance, more people, or more control will often intensify the problem rather than solve it. So the purpose of step 1 is not produce a list of complaints, but create a diagnosis understanding of the system. An understanding grounded in observable events, recurring patterns, ecosystem structure, and the assumptions that sustain them. Only then can software transformation move from reaction to redesign phase. And that is the point where the next step begins. Not simply changing the system, but redesigning it around business domains that actually matters.